Hi everybody, my name is Nastia and a few months ago I moved from Ukraine to Canada. Since I'm a student by age, I entered a local school and sharply felt the difference between the Ukrainian school and Canadian school. So I think this video will be interesting not only to my Ukrainian friends, but also for new Canadian friends. Perhaps my perspective is different from yours, so I will gladly discuss it in the comments on the topic of our schools. I'm currently studying in Bradford District High School. There are three types of school in Canada: private, Catholic and public. There are only public schools in Ukraine and quite a few private ones. Now I will surprise Canadians, but in Ukrainian schools there is no separation for younger and older students. Everyone is studying in the same building. In Canada, students from age 4 to grade 8 attend primary school and grades 9 to 12 in high school. At both Canadian and Ukrainian schools, I study in the grade 11, but I graduated from the Ukrainian school a couple of days ago. How can that be? It's simple, because at the Ukrainian school before the reform, children studied for 11 years and not for 12 as in Canada. If desired, Ukrainian students can graduate from school after grade 9 and immediately go to college, but not to university. In fact, I think this division of the school into age categories is very reasonable. For example, about the same number of children study at my Ukrainian school, 1,400 people, but only 50 of them are my peers. In Canadian school, half of students are my age. Accordingly, the likelihood that I'll find my fellow thinkers and friends here is much greater. All students are adults, and the school shouldn't be torn between the interest of a first grader and a graduate at the same time. From theory to practice, so let's spend one day with me at a Canadian school. In the morning, the parking lot of the Canadian school and the parking in the neighborhood are very busy places. Many people are driven by their parents, but some school children have a car and come by themselves, because you can drive in Canada from the age of 16 and not from 18 as in Ukraine. The school bus takes students who live farther than 3 kilometers from the school. There are simply no parking lots in Ukrainian schools. Buses are available only in villages and they carry children from other settlements. By the way, very few children study in Ukrainian villages. It can be either 200 or several students. Canadian lessons run from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and students have 4 same subjects per day. Before the beginning of the semester, Canadians have the opportunity to choose from a variety of subjects exactly those that they want to study and that they will need upon admission. Accordingly, each student has an individual schedule and you spend each period in different classrooms with different people. In Ukraine, you study with the same classmates during the whole day for 11 grades. Ukrainian school children do not and never have had the opportunity to choose the subjects we want to study. We have a standard set of identical subjects that we have been studying for 11 years without big changes. There will be nothing new for Canadians if I list these subjects: mathematics, physics, biology, geography, etc. But we don't have such subjects as drama, marketing, baking, and many others. In total, we study about 20 subjects. In this regard, I am very supportive of the Canadian system of education. For the first 8 years, students learn a standard and complete set of subjects, which allows them to develop comprehensively, gain basic knowledge, and highlight priority areas of study. In the remaining 4 years, children have the possibility to try different things out, look for their true interest, or just enjoy learning what they love. Thus, you have the opportunity to understand whether this occupation suits you or not before entering the university. In Ukraine, probably 95% of students have no idea where to go after school, because the set of specialties that the school provides us with is a very narrow profile. In Canada, children who have not decided where they want to go or want to improve some subjects before entering can stay at school for an extra year, and this is normal. Nobody does that in Ukraine, and I'm not even sure that we have the opportunity to stay 1 more year at school. By the way, in Canada, in order to graduate from school, you need to have 40 hours of volunteering. There is no such thing in Ukraine, and most children have never even tried volunteering. In Canada, lessons are 1 hour and 15 minutes long with 5 minutes of break between each lesson. I like the duration of the classes because this time is enough for us to concentrate on our task. Before the start of lessons, positive cool music plays in the corridors, and this immediately improves the mood for the day. Also, instead of music, I often hear this melody. first, this tune meant nothing to me, and then I found out that this is the soundtrack from the video game Super Mario. And it immediately became fun, because I think the students who are late and running to class are a lot like the main character of this game. The beginning and end of the lesson is accompanied by a pleasant sound. And this is the sound of the beginning and end of the lesson in Ukraine. For older students in Ukraine, lessons start at 8 a.m. and end no earlier than 3-4 p.m. Some children study in the second shift, that is from 1 p.m. to 7-8 p.m. The duration of our lessons are 45 minutes, and we have 7-8 different subjects per day. We are also given a lot of homework for each subject every day. According to Ukrainian standards, if a student spends 4 hours on homework after class, it's normal. But we are asked so much that this time is generally not enough to do the homework well and really learn the material. Here, for example, I'll show you Canadian mathematics and Ukrainian. It's interesting to note that in Canada teachers give formulas for tests, while in Ukraine this is prohibited. At the beginning of the second period, the anthem of Canada plays, during which everyone should postpone their business, stop talking and get up. Immediately after the anthem, the morning announcement begins, during which everyone still have to stay in their places and keep quiet.
Good morning, VDHS. This is Nada with your quote of the day.
During the announcement, they explain the upcoming events, school activities for the day, important announcements, congratulate school winning teams, whatever. I really like this method of communication and notification students. When I was still in Ukraine, not knowing about such practices, I offered to do the same in our school. But of course, nothing has changed as always. After the end of the second lesson, which by the way is not called lesson here, but a period, there comes an hour-long lunch. In Ukraine, there is no such thing as a lunch, but there is only a long break that lasts as much as 20 minutes. At first, I was upset that lunch in Canada lasts an hour, because the shorter the lunch, the sooner the lesson will end and the sooner I'll be home. But oh, how wrong I was. I really love school, so there is no need to hurry, and a long lunch gives students the opportunity to eat quietly, complete assignments, pursue interests, clubs, take a walk, and much more. At this time, students are scattered along the corridors, cafeteria, library, classrooms. It's also a golden time for cafes in the neighborhood, such as Starbucks, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, etc., because many students go there. The remaining 2 lessons pass in the usual rhythm. One of them I choose was physical education. And that is probably what surprised me the most. I'd better start this comparison with Ukraine. As you already understood, physical education in Ukraine is mandatory even for children who do not like sports. But we don't even wear a sports uniform to our lessons. Usually, lessons such as physical education, art or music are used to learn other more important lessons. In our Ukrainian school, for example, there are not even musical instruments, not counting the 2 pianos that are out of tune to the point of depression, and about 5 sports balls. Also, we do not learn how to play volleyball, basketball or soccer, and we do not know such games as frisbee, baseball or football at all. By the way, basketball is not popular at all in Ukraine. It's never played on the streets, unlike in Canada, where basketball is on the courts around the clock. Instead, our boys play soccer, and every respectable kid must have Cristiano 7 or Messi 10 shorts. So when I first came to the physical lesson classes in Canada, I was stunned. 2 great gyms, 2 large sport fields, a dance room and a lot of sports equipment for a variety of games. Volleyball, basketball, football, hockey, baseball, frisbee, fitness, yoga, dancing and much more. Music plays in our lessons, and we even had a meditation class where we could sleep, but I'm afraid the Ukrainians will think it's a joke.
They proceed from you.
Teenagers in Canada are very well developed at sports. Unlike Ukraine, here physical education lessons for boys and girls are held separately, and oh god, these children can do everything. The guys are very strong, agile and fast, and I just admire the girls and take an example from them, because any kind of activity is not a problem for them. They are very energetic, diligent and friendly. Since I'm new, I don't understand a lot, and I often ask them to explain to me elementary and obvious things for them, and I don't always understand everything. But no one has ever been rude or thrown any contemptuous look at me, but on the contrary, they try to help and support me. It's surprising for me that for all the time of joining sports games, I have not heard bad words towards those who let the team down, miss the ball in volleyball, for example. I really like Canadians in general. Most of them, school children, teachers, or school administration, are very positive, simple, and open. Principal and vice principals can often be seen in the corridors and talk to them about everything that interests you. In Ukrainian school, the principal is an object of intimidation. But we are not very scared, because we saw her only a few times in our lives. Like a couple of Ukrainian teachers, my Canadian teachers are interested in their pupils, their affairs. I'm like new, despite the fact that I am successful and everything works out, they are constantly trying to help and integrate me into society as comfortably as possible. In general, it's important here to involve all children in school life, so that the school is fully adapted for an inclusive group of students, for international students, and also actively expresses support for LGBTQ+ groups. In Ukraine, schools do not express support for minorities. We have virtually no foreign students and poorly developed facilities for an inclusive group. Until recently, in Ukrainian schools, it was mandatory to have a school uniform, and for the lack of one, they could write a remark in a diary. There are no diaries or school uniforms in Canadian public schools. Children dress however they want, and interestingly enough, many of them have tattoos. From the very beginning, as soon as I got to the school, I felt an atmosphere of respect for the students. Ukrainians often repeat that it's not normal when children are allowed to do everything. So I don't really agree with this opinion. In Canada, students can do everything that doesn't harm them and other students. Sometimes you can see students who even put their feet on the desk. Outrageous, say the Ukrainians. Yes, but at the same time, I have never heard that the teacher had to calm the class down, as in Ukraine, and that the children were so noisy that the teacher had to scold them. In Ukraine, this is the constant practice when students disrupt lesson and shoot over the teacher. Okay, the first and the last period has come. It's a spare period for me. Of course, there is no such thing in Ukraine. It's a free lesson where you can do whatever you want. It's usually taken by those who need to prepare for exams. I spend this time in the library, and the library in this school is just a dream. Our school library in Ukraine is a small room with the same books, ancient as the Egyptian pyramids, so who knows, maybe it is in them the answers to the mysteries of the universe are hidden. Here the library is a spacious and welcoming where we can gather. It's a large room with new books where experienced librarians often make organized announcements. And what is surprising to me is that children are really interested. Passionate teenagers discuss their favorite descriptions and take these books, not indifferently sit out the announcement. This library has a huge printer with colored paper, and you can print any amount of material for free. The library is very cozy, comfortable. Groups often gather here to communicate or to work on joint project because the library has a separate place with a huge amount of laptops. In general, the school here is very digitalized. Each student has his own personal electronic account, which we use every day. There are newsletters about school events or important information. Here we can find materials for the lesson, and thanks to a personal password, we can connect to school Wi-Fi. Of course, there is no Wi-Fi in Ukrainian schools, as well as laptops for students. Only computers in the computer science class, which we use very rarely. And in Canada, almost every classroom is equipped with Chromebooks in sufficient quantities. Some children may even take the computer home by agreement, but at the end of the year, of course, it needs to be returned. In Canada, there is less homework, so students usually have enough free time after lessons for life and leisure. They often spend this time on a job, sometimes even on two. It's hard for Ukrainians to imagine, but probably most Canadian school children are working. And this speaks not about the financial situation of the family, but about the desire for independence probably. Ukrainian school children almost never have a job. Other teenagers who do not work also have something to do, because there is a huge leisure center and a library near the school. I'll tell you about it all in other videos. The school also provides many sports sections and clubs, unlike my Ukrainian school, because we were simply prohibited to create hobby clubs. Обращаясь к некоторым учителям с моей украинской школы, я, конечно, не буду пользоваться вашими глубоко педагогическими приемами и оскорблять вас за спиной, но вместо того, чтобы через учеников передавать мне свои насмешки и издевательские приветы, лучше будьте чуточку добрее.
чаще улыбайтесь, говорите друг другу теплые слова, и от улыбки станет всем светлей. I don't want to take time to explain this long story, but if you want, you can watch a few videos earlier with subtitles and translation. Well, in a Canadian school, the end of the school year crept up unnoticed, which, as everywhere else, is accompanied by graduation and prom. Prom is organized by a school, and this year it was held at the golf club. Tickets are sold in advance because the number of seats is limited. By the way, parents are not invited. Those present initially choose a seat and place to sit at a table with their friends. Everyone prepares for this day in advance and comes in chic dresses, stylish and makeup. The duration of the prom is from 6 to 11 p.m. It's more like banquet here. An hour to get ready, 2 hours to eat and 2 hours to a disco. At this time, students freely walk around the property, socialize, take picture and dance. On a separate day, elsewhere, they receive certificates, and this in principle is the end of graduation. In Ukraine, graduation has a completely different meaning. It all starts with the last bell. As far as I understand, there is no such tradition in Canada. In Ukraine, at the end of each school year, children line up on the school property, sing songs, read poems, and graduates dance a waltz. Next comes the prom itself. They celebrate it only with their class, and parents organize it. They start preparing for this event a year in advance. Pupils on this day, as in Canada, are dressed up in the best clothes. On prom days, students usually organize the photo shoot first, then go to a restaurant. The feast begins in the afternoon and ends the next morning, that is, we party all night long. To do this, a toastmaster is invited who will entertain us professionally. Parents are usually present at prom. Our people have a tradition at prom which is called Meet the Dawn. This means that at dawn everyone should stop dancing, go outside and watch the sunrise. For our souls, graduation is a very sad event, because now we say goodbye to the team with which we spent our childhood and adolescence. It may be more difficult for Canadians to understand, but still people with whom we spent whole days together for 11 years become like family. Therefore, any graduation is accompanied by tears, heartbreaking speeches and songs. I would be very interested to know your opinion about these two schools, so leave comments. And also don't forget to subscribe and like it if you liked my video. Thank you for watching, guys. See you again.
Hello everyone, subscribe. Hi, I'm Carter Bone and this is Adrian Winter, and we say subscribe.
And like.